Marjah, where 3-6 was fighting last year. What are the differences between Marjah last year, meaning summer of 2010, to now fall of 2011?
Well, I'm going to simplify it, and the people made a choice. People made a choice to side with their governments because the government of Afghanistan, with the help of the coalition, has provided the services or the social contracts. People saw that, and they have stood up largely linked to their own government. The contrast that I talk about is the contrast between the Taliban version of governance and the Giroa version of governance. And there's all kinds of vignettes to show why that contrast was developed. But the people essentially, and I know this is a gross oversimplification, but they essentially said, which one do I want? And they've largely made a choice.
You were at Ashura a few days ago. We're chatting with the locals, and I'm paraphrasing. You gave them a choice. You said Giroa offers schools, education clinics, etc., etc. Taliban offers you darkness. How do the locals respond to that?
Yesterday was a little bit one-off because it's behind our program, if you will. So we're still in the early stages of contact there, contact with the people. Normally, what we do is we don't even reference the Taliban. It's not even relevant to the discourse. Our narrative is that there's been a lack of progress in Afghanistan compared to their neighbors. Japan was formed as a country after World War II on the same day Afghanistan was, and you can see the difference there. We have all kinds of ways to show that contrast, and we don't reference the Taliban. But in this case, we had to, because where we were yesterday was essentially a Taliban command and control headquarters. All those people in that shura have been actively supporting the Taliban. It's our first time going in there to stay. So we had a different message, and so we did actually compare the Taliban, because we were talking to them, to Giroa. And you can go at the micro level and you could say, if you fall off your tractor and break your arm and you show up at an A&A position, they're going to give you some rudimentary treatment for that broken arm. If you show up at a Taliban position, they may say, here, try on this vest, you're now a suicide bomber. That contrast is evident no matter what your education or experience level is. So what I'm trying to do is show them through our actions and through the A&A and the Afghan police actions, because the actions will absolutely speak louder than words, particularly in this culture. I'm asking them the question. So they look and say, Marines landed a helicopter in my cornfield, and then they paid me for the damage to the corn. And then they'll see something different. The Taliban, poked holes in my wall so they could shoot from it, but they didn't repair the damage to the holes in my wall or pay me for it. I want them to see all those little activities and the contrast between Giroa and the Taliban. And then from there, we combine that with combat operations, where we defeat the Taliban in that zone. Whether they go away, we kill them, we capture them, they change sides. It doesn't matter to me. It's just, it's defeat is the key word. And you combine those actions and the people start seeing. And the elders will start coming around, and you hear them afterwards. They say, I didn't realize the difference. Now I see it. And they start immediately linking to their own government.
Marjah District Center is from what I understand, secure or secured.
Absolutely, we can walk there right now.
We're in the outskirts. So we were in the outskirts yesterday. What more do you need to continue this into the outskirts?
Well, we can do the same thing over and over. We have two fists that we employ, and we launder it all through the Giroa. Everything we do, our commander's intent is to do everything by, through, or with the Afghans. Because if Americans are doing the activity that fulfills the social contract, then the people answer to the coalition force. But that doesn't necessarily buy you any long-term governance for Giroa. So in some places, the American activity, because of it's non-permissive, we have to go in and we have to hug the population, and the population hugs us back. But then we have to gently transfer that hug over to the ANA, the police, and their governance. So when you say how much more time do we need, time isn't really the question. We have to look very hard and say, where is Giroa capable of extending governance? Wherever that is, we need to go and transfer that hug to them. So way out in the desert to the west of Marjah, Giroa is incapable of providing any governance there yet, just because of their capacity. So it doesn't do us any good to do counterinsurgency there and get the people responding to a social contract when we can't transfer that hug to Giroa delivering goods and services. So we look at the population centers first, and as we shore up the governance in the population centers, like you mentioned, Central Marjah, you and I could walk just like we are right now from here to Central Marjah and back again without any threat. You'll see economics developing, you'll see government programs happening, you'll see from individual private sector businesses to government-run schools. It's all happening. And we shore that up and allow it to build, and eventually they'll be able to extend. First you see police presence extending, then you see budget and financial opportunities extending, then you see business, because of something as simple as improvement of roads, economics will extend. And where that government can extend, we enable it and let it extend. And where they hit a block because the enemy may be stronger, or the xenophobia of some of the people don't understand who it is or what the Afghan flag is, that's when we can come in and kind of push it over the hump.
Are they getting a sense of community or a sense of country here? You had the ANA commander yesterday giving a soliloquy on Afghanistan needing to join the world community. How is that received, and do they understand that yet?
We really approach the narrative from two ends. The more you talk about it, you soak the marketing, if you will. The more you talk about a nationalism in Afghanistan, the more it'll sink in over time. But they're very pragmatic. Their immediate needs of their village, immediate needs of the area surrounding their village. The action speaks louder than the words, and they have to see it there. And it's, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And, where are they on that hierarchy? And how can we not ourselves put them to the next step? How can they themselves put them to the next step and see it's because they're organized through government that they're able to do that? That'll build nationalism over time. There's a lot of isolation informationally in the population. There's a lack of education, formalized education. There's no lack of intellect. They're intelligent people, but their experience is very different. A worldly experience level, understanding what the internet is irrelevant to them. Understanding the okra harvest season is largely irrelevant to a guy living in Chicago. So we have to grow our antenna bigger than we grow our horns, and read the environment and understand how to approach it with a combined arms fashion, informationally, civilly, and of course our weapons and maneuver.
How do the Marines react to the difference between kinetics and firefights and going out building schools, shaking hands, and operating clinics?
What there is there's a vector into the right direction of governance, or there's not. And kinetics apply every day. We can go walk into a direction right now, and we can certainly be in a gunfight. It's not a measure of effectiveness to me. So we like to blur the line between kinetics and non-kinetics. Now the difference, I think what we're really getting after is why the difference was their opposition to Giroa and to the Marines in particular. And as an oversimplification, they didn't understand what our motive was. There's a xenophobia here that's expounded over the years because of the pragmatic nature of the people to protect their immediate family. So I talk to people all the time. They say, "Of course we shot at you." And then we realized, you guys weren't here to burn our churches, take our women, and enslave our sons. You actually started helping, and your actions spoke loud. And I said, we were silly to shoot at the Marines. So it was a combination of multiple actions, and the combined arms and counterinsurgency. Many of them we would term non-kinetic, but they're all of them combined to put a dilemma for the guy that opposes you.
So the people understand the difference between Giroa and us, and the Taliban is really black and white. It really is that difference.
It's so easy to create a contrast with the Taliban, because a Marine patrolling with ANA can see a guy with an injury in the market, an injury that would otherwise go untreated, and he can issue him some aspirin, or he can wrap the open wound right there on the spot and continue on like it's another day for the Marine or the ANA soldier. The Taliban is incapable of doing that.
So this is a fight we can, I don't want to use the term win, but in which we can succeed. I would say that.
Absolutely, there's no question about it. Marines are uniquely good at counterinsurgency. It's because our doctrine, MCDP1 warfighting. There's nothing in that book that doesn't apply to this fight. There's no question in my mind.
Great. But what else do you want to tell us before I turn the camera off?
The best ambassador of the United States has proven once again the Lance Corporal on the street. That Marine alone, doing what an American 19-year-old infantryman does, creates the biggest contrast with the Taliban. He doesn't beat people, he doesn't push people inside their homes, he doesn't abuse his power. In fact, he gives candy to kids. He always helps the underdog. He's always polite. He doesn't know that that's the weapon he's employing, but the contrast with the Taliban was created simply by young Marines being American men.